Welcome to another episode of Stay Paid. I'm Joshua Stike along with Luke Acree, and our guest today actually works in an industry super near and dear to our heart, which is the print and, well, not the print industry, but the mailing industry, direct mail industry. His name is Dave Fink. He is the founder of Postie.com. And so we're going to get a lot into how he is merging data and tech with
the future of print.
Yeah.
I literally asked him the question, is print dead? And he gives us a great answer, but you got to listen to the episode to hear
Absolutely have to stick around for that. But before we bring Dave on, we'd love it if you take a minute to subscribe to Stay Paid on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you're not already subscribed. And while you're there, make sure to drop a review to let us know how we're doing. We'll read it right here on the show. And now let's get into this week's interview.
From ReminderMedia, this is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business. Hosted by the VP of Marketing, Josh Stike, and ReminderMedia's president, Luke Acree. So get ready to hear the golden nuggets that will allow you to live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today.
Our guest today is Dave Fink. Over a 20-year career, Dave has generated hundreds of millions of dollars in ad revenue, powered viral sensations like Dollar Shave Club, and has helped launch celebrity startups for Jessica Simpson, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, and Kate Bosworth. Now, as founder and CEO of Postie, he's out to reinvent direct mail marketing for a digital world. Dave, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Dave, man, it's awesome to have you. Getting to know you a little bit in the green room has been fantastic. So we have a lot in common. Want to dive right in, though, because we don't get to interview people who tend to launch startups for celebrities. So that in and of itself is super unique, right? So working with the Jessica Simpsons, the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsens, all those. But talk to us a little bit about that. Like, what were you doing for them? You're driving ad revenue, that type of idea. But what was that like working with them? How did you launch those startups?
Yeah, that was a super interesting and really fun dynamic time in my career, and really kind of, I think, parallels a lot of what I've had the fun of doing over the past 20 years or so, which is really building platforms that launch companies. And so, what you're referring to is a company called Beachmint that a number of years ago was really built as a launch platform for consumer brands, at a time when kind of social media was just becoming social media, and platforms, media platforms that allowed brands to really engage directly through storytelling with their audiences in kind of in an owned way. Really was just kind of coming to the forefront of how brands were built. And so, the kind of hypothesis and premise behind the nature of that business was, celebrities are more than actors and actresses and singers and songwriters. They are storytellers, and they have big audiences, and giving them an ability to engage and launch product-based businesses to their kind of fan bases and audience bases in a age of social media seemed like an opportunity, and certainly proved to be the case.
Now, Dollar Shave Club, that was like a unicorn, in terms of businesses. Like, I mean, I hear a lot of people from a business standpoint talk about it. Were you involved with the famous like ad campaign with the video marketing, right? Were they the first ones that did the kind of parody type
Not the first,
videos?
but certainly one of the first one to take off
people
like that.
I just remember
right
seeing
place,
that video
right time, right
all
video.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Dubin, who was the founder and really marketing genius behind that brand, certainly helped create that category, and Mike did a circuit of speaking at marketing divisions of schools at MBA programs and universities, and kind of taught what it takes to launch a viral video. But it really, everybody, it was really kind of an interesting experience, because at that time, certainly, the amazing, launch video sent that company in the stratosphere, and it really was overnight. I mean, I remember sitting in the science offices. That was the tech studio that the Dollar Shave Club kind of launched out of. That I was one of the partners at. And it is the absolute, storybook fantasy of lots and lots of preparation and creativity going into the launch, something that we, thought was going to be, interesting and have a life. And literally overnight shut down, servers crashed. We had label printers in our offices and we were handling fulfillment.
That is amazing.
It was incredible. And again, that was kind of the natural evolution of kind of some of the things that we did at Beachmint and launching the celebrity brands. Mike became a celebrity through his own brand and business. He just had a voice and a creative way of storytelling that was able to leverage the kind of rise of social, and that was right when Facebook was becoming the Facebook we know today, and right when YouTube was becoming the YouTube we know today. He couldn't have timed it better, but it was also just brilliant storytelling and execution.
So talk about your new company, Postie, because I know in the information that your team sent over to us, it says here that you think the best kept secret in marketing is hiding where you least expect it, which is your mailbox. We love direct marketing. Anyone who's listening to us, obviously we do direct marketing as well. So talk about that business and how you're combining the digital space with the direct mail space, what you're doing to really change how direct mail is used.
Yeah. So, we just spent last few minutes talking about the power of social platforms and the rise of Facebook and certainly Google and YouTube, et cetera. And those are, behemoths of platforms that many companies have grown to be several $100 million a year businesses. And many of the biggest businesses in the world have kind of readjusted the way that they think about, engagement with consumers and prospects and media allocation. But those are walled gardens, right? Facebook owns Facebook's ad platform. And if you want to engage with your audience on Facebook, you are at the whim of the tools, capabilities, algorithms that Facebook, gives you, and those change dramatically. Same thing with Google, but the principles of being able to engage directly with consumers, leverage data and targeting, testing and optimizing the way that your story and messaging is landing, and being able to evolve it with those insights and learnings. Those are that's been the kind of the evolution of digital media, really driven by targeting and measurement. And there are amazing channels that are not walled gardens that give you more control over your messaging. They're brand safe. And algorithms don't change on you. And direct mail is one of those platforms where no one owns someone's address or mailbox. When you figure out a method to engage effectively for your to drive a marketing goal or KPI through the channel, you can scale that and feel very much in control. You're not worried about all of a sudden the U.S. Postal Service saying, "Hey, we're changing everybody's address now, and good luck figuring out who those people are."
They're just saying right now that they're going to slow delivery. That's just what they're saying.
You still know where they are.
Certainly talk about that. It's there's always change and evolution, and it's a complex logistic beast.
It is, man.
We track every piece of mail being delivered, and from for marketing mail and kind of both standard and first class delivery mechanisms that our clients are leveraging. Very, very little effect, and there's actually some positive stuff coming out of it. Certainly something that
are you able to track your delivery to the mailbox or to the distribution facility? Because we're playing around with the idea of getting it to the distribution facility, but a lot of our mail is media mail. Do you track it all the way to the mailbox with first class, or?
No. So the U.S. Postal Service provides scans similar to how you're tracking, UPS or FedEx packages. But unlike UPS and FedEx, which is dealing with lower volume and does delivery scans at address at the actual mailbox, U.S. Postal Service scans the step right before. So essentially when it leaves the local distribution center, and kind of their commitment is that will be delivered within 24 hours. That's the last scan that we get. So we do know, when a piece of mail is out for delivery, but again, there's just no mechanism yet to scan.
Yeah, that's what we've seen too. So Postie in your company there, what's the unique value proposition? Because you said it, like the direct mail is age old, right? It's a tried and true method. We firmly believe in it. But what's you guys' unique value proposition that you believe you're bringing to the marketplace?
Yeah, so we like to think about ourselves as the technology layer that allows advertisers to engage with the direct mail channel in the same way that they do with their digital channels.
Nice.
And so we think about packaging together software and user interface and technology to accomplish three core kind of areas of emphasis. One is on targeting. So it's leveraging all of your consumer data to be able to make great decisions on who and when to engage with what message, the same way that you can dynamically on social platforms or search or programmatic display. And we place a huge investment on kind of that data layer, the tools and capabilities, the machine learning stack, using modern algorithmic mathematical techniques to help advertisers spend their budget wisely and get value out of the channel. The second piece is all the operations and logistics. Something that not everybody engaging in direct mail thinks about is, but unlike digital media, every single time you deploy a campaign, you're actually manufacturing, in some cases, millions of items, right? Yep. And then you're activating a complex network of logistics to get those ads delivered to upwards of 260 million addresses or households throughout the U.S. Like that's a monumental feat. U.S. Postal Service gets beaten up in the media left and right, but the reality is it's a world-class organization that's doing something extraordinarily difficult.
Right.
And then the third piece is measurement. So understanding, if you're investing in kind of all these interesting tactics and creative testing and strategies that you're excited about leveraging, it's really important to understand if they work or if they don't work. And the old world of traditional media, measurement was really hard and very inaccurate. You fast forward to 2021, and digital. We just come to expect that we have complete transparency, or pretty close to complete transparency, right, on what tactic, strategy, message, ad, et cetera, is working. And we focus a lot on bridging the gap between kind of that more broad-based measurement and the very one-to-one pinpoint accurate measurement available in digital.
How do you tie in just from a tactical perspective? Like, so if I'm a real estate agent sending out, let's say 5,000 pieces of direct mail, maybe it's a postcard or a letter or something like that. What are some of the tactical measurement tools I could implement with that campaign to know, am I getting success or not?
Yeah, well, at its core, it starts with kind of structuring your campaigns and having the tools to structure your campaigns so you understand and you have a history of what ad or message is being delivered to what consumer or segment of consumers. And then from there, because the physical address of each individual in your direct mail campaign and each segment within your direct mail campaign, as you're capturing conversion data, most brands are now capturing that address level data as well, whether they're shipping a product, whether they're capturing data through a lead form. And that data can be matched back in real time accurately to the recipient of a piece of mail. So now you're able to definitively say, these individuals that converted on my website, at my store, in my lead form, in my service-based business, received this specific ad within the last 2 weeks, 45 days, 60 days. And then that gives you a tremendous amount of insight and accuracy into the positive effect you got from that campaign. And step two then is typically repeating those same strategies and then measuring again and seeing if you get the same results. And over time, you start getting confident in both measurement, but also the predictive value of that measurement.
Talk about the idea of creating and choosing an audience, right? Because you're talking about the addresses and everything. So how does what should one's thought process be when going through and building an audience? And then I know you guys offer a unique thing that I see on your website where you can actually help, almost like Facebook, create lookalike audiences, but at the household level versus the phone, Facebook level.
That's right. So, with any campaign, my personal approach and kind of what we educate our services team on is you got to start with what the marketing objective is. There are so many use cases for a channel like direct mail, and we think about those use cases at the highest level being bucketed into one of three areas. So there are certain businesses or marketing goals that are tied to just growth, pure growth. Mm-hmm. We need more customers. We have a great product. We have a great service. Help our brand get the word out and find new customers that may or may not be aware of us already. And so that's the prospecting bucket. And when you talk about, you brought up lookalikes, that's a method that digital media had really created, which enables advertisers to leverage what they know about or what data providers, data sets know about their existing customers, and then build predictive models looking for other individuals within their target geo that look most similar to those individuals. And that allows them to do things like identify high value customers within their CRM or their customer set and say, hey, it's not just that I want more customers, but if I'm going to invest marketing dollars, I want to invest marketing dollars with the highest probability of attracting and acquiring more customers that behave like my best customers. Mm-hmm. On the other end of the spectrum, there's all sorts of CRM or retention tactics. And so if you're a business that has already acquired customers, you work hard to figure out how to service those customers so that they stick with your business and they become repeat customers. There's all sorts of opportunities to leverage direct mail for increasing the lifetime value. So you can do that by trying to increase the average order value of each transaction, or by driving frequency within repeat purchasers, or try and re-engage lapsed customers. Maybe you did a great job acquiring some customers, they transacted once with you, and you're trying to figure out how to get them to think about purchasing or transacting with you on a more frequent basis. And then there's all the opportunities in the middle, which we think about as kind of the programmatic layer of marketing. And that's, they're not your customers. They've engaged with your website or maybe a mobile app, but they haven't taken a revenue generating action yet. They're not pure prospects because they're aware of you. They have engaged with your website, a microsite, a video, and direct mail can now through programmatic capabilities enable you to reach those audience members and try and help encourage them to take that final step and purchase your product or license a service from you.
I love that. I also was looking on you guys' website that you do a lot of tying in, because you're spending a ton of money on the data side of tying in like the website visits. And are you taking it as far as basically like, let's say we have an e-commerce store and you're tracking for the most part what something is happening on that data on the e-commerce store and triggering direct mail based upon that data?
That's right. So if you think about, and we talk about it in the data science world as signal, and signal can come from a deep action that someone takes. They filled out a lead gen form, they downloaded an ebook, they purchased from you, made a purchase of a specific product category or product. They also could just be researching, right, and engaging with content, visiting specific product detail pages. All that information is data that you've already, as a brand, paid for, whether it's by driving traffic to your website or whether it's by building a brand story that drove organic traffic to your website. That's liquid gold. And there's a ton of insights that you can uncover, and you've always been able to leverage digital platforms over the last 20 years. So you can run retargeting programs, you can leverage that first party data to build audiences on social platforms, on programmatic display. You can also do that through direct mail on the Postie platform. So we can help you leverage all that signal, turn those into audiences that can be mailed and messaged through direct mail.
I love that. So I got to ask you, because we get this question all the time. People say print is dead, right? So people aren't paying attention. What's your answer to print being dead? I'll
give you two sides of two different data sets that suggest that that's not true. One is this year, over $40 billion will be spent in the direct mail industry, just in the US. So it's a monstrous channel. That's factual. You can pull down data like that at U.S. Postal Service's website. They track and are very public about how much mail is being delivered on the marketing side. The other data point is, because we're a programmatic ads platform, we measure performance of every single campaign on the platform, and we're working with thousands of advertisers in a given week, tens of thousands of ad campaigns, tens of to hundreds of millions of pieces of mail coming off our platform, and we can absolutely 100% raise our hand and say that the typical brand is seeing tremendous engagement and performance. And client retention kind of speaks for itself. So when you look at the performance of the channel, consumers are engaging. It is absolutely a channel that has staying power, and in 2021 and moving into 2022 is proving to drive incredible engagement and response rates and return on ad spend. And then if you just look at the brand dollars that are flowing into the channel, it's still a monstrous channel.
I love that. Yeah. I was going to ask if before we jump to the next question is, do you have any guidance on, so the return on investment, the time frame that it comes in for your clients? Because that's a big pain point that I always try to coach businesses on. Is like, hey, direct mail is usually not a one and done type advertising campaign. In fact, most advertising campaigns are not one and done, but direct mail specifically on top of it all is not. But people just still don't seem to get that. Do you have any guidance on length of time?
It's a great question. So like all quantitative media channels, and really brand channels too, you have to make an investment. It's not, we talk in terms of, you got to think beyond the campaign. It's not show up, design a really good looking piece of creative, take a flyer on an audience, send it out, and then decide whether direct mail is for you or not. The beauty of the channel is it's a test and optimization channel, right? So you want to show up with ideas, turn those ideas into strategies and tactics, test those tactics, understand what's working better than, what tactics are working better than others, and then invest more deeply in those tactics that are working. When you run that type of program, whether it's on social, whether it's on search, whether it's on programmatic, retargeting, email, or direct mail, you tend to achieve results. And so our mission is typically when an advertiser that's new to direct mail comes into onto the Postie platform, we're confidently thinking in terms of 3 to 4 months to get to a place where the brand is generally comfortable that this should be a big investment. And I would say there's no 100%, but we're pretty darn good at optimizing that quickly. And
is that one mailing per month? Is it one mailing every 2 weeks? Is it any guidance there?
It depends. Again, it's different if you go the traditional route than if you go with Postie, because some campaigns are set up as daily trigger campaigns where you as a brand are literally making decisions or setting up campaigns that
I got what you're saying
daily.
Yep. Okay.
Other campaigns are more big scheduled deployments where you're leveraging efficiencies and logistics and costs. And, in the bigger scheduled campaigns, we have clients that are on weekly, biweekly, and monthly cadences. And then with the trigger campaigns, they're almost always daily.
Nice.
So, full gamut, depending on the specific, marketing objective of that campaign.
What's left in terms of innovation for direct mail? Like, where can it go from here? Obviously, you're talking about the data side and some of the strategies and the tools there. How far can it innovate? What's the future like?
Well, we think about innovating in all three of those buckets we talked about: targeting, measurement, and then logistics and operations. So, if you take extract that up another level, we think about it in terms really of how do you leverage data in a compliant and thoughtful way to continuously improve performance. And the smarter that advertisers, become, and advertisers these days are wickedly smart. I think sky's the limit. It's thinking about ways to leverage and capture and segment your own first party data. It's how to leverage, third party data to be able to expand, your reach in your universe. And that'll be, an optimization and mathematical, challenge that I think, we and others will work on in perpetuity. The other is speed and efficiency. So the faster that we can help advertisers get from an idea in their head to in the homes of their customers or prospects with an actual ad, a piece of mail, the faster that they can affect their business in a dynamic way, the faster they can learn, gain insights, and then optimize those strategies. So there will always be a limit to how fast you can get something printed and delivered to someone's home. But I think the U.S. Postal Service and most big direct mail shops quote something like 12 to 14 days from the time you enter production, and usually are optimizing in 60-day cycles. We have, put it in perspective, this is pretty extreme, but we have a client right now that's looking to deploy upwards of 35 million pieces of mail, and we have a plan in place that we'll know if we're moving on later today to be through production in the U.S. mail in 8 days, and our numbers right now are tracking about, I think, 6.2, 6.5 days from the time you enter the U.S. Postal Service to being in home. So now you're looking at being able to go from an idea in your head to a campaign that's actually being delivered in a matter of a couple days, in trigger campaigns, in a matter of a week, in a big, heavy scheduled campaign. That's never been done before.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I love that.
What's the coolest direct mail campaign you've seen? Like, what's the coolest, most effective one that you've actually seen?
I mean, to me, I love data, but what always tickles my fancy, because I really am a quantitative mind. I'm not the creative mind. I always lays in the creative. We had a pet client that designed a postcard that could be turned into an origami pooper scooper. I love those campaigns.
That's
you're delighting the
fantastic.
customer. That's the direct mail version of Dollar Shave Club entertaining you.
Yeah, because it makes an impact.
60-second viral.
Yeah,
That's
people
awesome.
remember it makes an impact.
I love it. Hey, well, we got to ask you, we ask all successful people that come on the show. And I mean, obviously you've done so much, which is amazing. And congrats on your success on your new company. But what routines have you implemented in your life that you look back and you go, these routines have really helped me? Like, I look at these routines and go, these have been successful.
That's a no-brainer. The number one routine is whenever I start a company, it's hire and surround myself with as many people way smarter than me as possible. I remember reading that in a couple notable VCs blogs 15 years ago, and I didn't understand it. And I remember being, I think probably an insecure, punching way above my weight, first time, second time entrepreneur, and deliberately hiring people that I felt like I could manage, and that they wouldn't find out that I'm a fraud because they were so much smarter than me. I right now I look at Postie in particular. Our executive team is world class, way smarter than me, way more capable than me at each of their jobs, and that trickles down to each team member, no matter how entry level or how senior they are. It makes the world of difference. And similarly, I think playing into that same kind of set of routines, which is ask lots of questions. Like, don't be afraid of being perceived as naive or not, smart or not knowing. You don't have to know everything, whether you're CEO or CMO or CFO. You have to have the expertise in your domain, and you have to constantly be willing to learn. So I think that might be a bit macro, but I really do. That's a formula that I've tried to follow over the last decade, and it certainly has served me well.
Yeah, no, I love that advice. Yeah. And that it's funny because until you've done it, until you've actually hired the person who's smarter than you and realize what they bring, you don't get it. And then you go, I should have done this sooner.
For sure. I said something that wasn't really planned in front of our services team maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And again, one of the people way smarter than me, our head of customer success, like latched onto it, and it made me take a moment of pause. And that statement was, when we first started Postie, I was involved in every sales cycle. I was involved in servicing every account. I was involved in every product discussion and every data science discussion. And that's not the case anymore. Very rarely am I involved in a sales cycle. Very rarely am I involved in the day-to-day servicing of a client, if ever. And I feel more in control of the business than ever before, but I have the least amount of control over it.
Yep.
And right. And I'm like, that is a fact. That is
so
real.
True.
And that's what you get when you hire people smarter than you and you empower them to build organizations and train and develop and do their thing. And it's an absolutely powerful lesson that I think, every entrepreneur that's had some level of success goes through and does have that aha moment. I get it now. This makes sense. Like, this is the way you achieve.
Love that.
Thanks so much for coming on, Dave.
Yep.
Before we close out, let people know how they can learn about Postie, how they can connect with you.
Certainly. So Postie.com has a wealth of information. If you check it out now, there's a ton of information on the site, and we can get you started. If you check the site out in about 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have a brand new site that we've been working on, our marketing team's been working on, that's even more in-depth information. You can certainly visit our LinkedIn page. And you're welcome to reach out directly to me either through LinkedIn or through email, Dave@Postie.com.
No, that's awesome. And just so everyone knows, when this episode does come out, that new site that Dave's talking about will have already been out.
That's awesome. Yes.
All right, man. Thanks again so much for coming on. Thank you all for listening. To dive deeper in this episode, get those links that we mentioned. Check out more about Postie. You can go to staypaidpodcast.com. There you'll get all of the show notes as well as the video for all of our episodes. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to show your support, first way that we ask is to head on over to iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review along with a comment. And the best way to support the show is to tell a friend and share this episode. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@ReminderMedia.com. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, and I'm Luke Acree. What a great episode. I want to challenge all of you. You know, we end every episode with an action item of what you should do in your business to move your business forward. Look, direct mail's not dead. You heard it here. It's a $40 billion industry. But here's my action item for you, right? A lot of people think of direct mail in the terms of a mass mailer. Right? That's how I traditionally think about it. But the idea of a trigger event causing a piece of direct mail to go out, I think is an opportunity that's not tapped in your business right now, specifically because I know most of our audience is small business owners. If you're a real estate agent right now, when a transaction happens, right? When that closing happens, what piece can you send based upon that trigger event? I guarantee you there's a gold mine in your database just focusing on that one thing where you trigger something going out, a piece of direct mail, a thank you letter, something like that, based upon the transaction that took place in your business. Remember this, difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every single industry is top producers take action. Take action on that today.